When I was 13 years old, I had a dream of becoming a professional baseball player. I had no idea on how I was going to get there. I just knew that I had to work hard. So that's what I did. Uh, I remember in high school, my coach, after practice in front of the whole team, looked at me and says, "Tim, never going to make it to the next level. You're just not good enough." After my freshman year in college, my coach actually took away my scholarship, said I wasn't good enough to play at the Division I level. My second school was just a stepping stone to get to my third school. And after my junior year in college, I was desperate to find someone to help me support that haunting dream of becoming a professional baseball player. And it wasn't until I got to Cal State Fullerton in 1995 that I was surrounded by a bunch of individuals as unreasonable as I was. They just thought differently. They had a different mindset. And it was also the first time I ever met a man by the name of Ken Ravizza, world-renowned sports psychologist. And we had to take a class. And we would talk about the breath and controlling the controllables. I remember in his class actually going through our pitching routine, and he said, "Hey, why do you do what you do?" And at that time, I was like, "I don't know, I just do it." He goes, "Until you label it, until you give it meaning, it will not serve you." That year was a big shift in my world and a big shift in my life. We ended up going 57-9 on that Cal State Fullerton team, winning the 1995 College World Series. In the 50-year anniversary of the College World Series, our team, the Titans, were voted the best team. And then in October of 2013, that team was inducted into the Cal State Fullerton Hall of Fame. For me, I went from being an average guy. It was my fourth school in 4 years, to being the Saturday starter on a national championship team, going 13-0, and still holding the record for most wins without a loss. And the reason why I tell you this is not because it makes me feel good about these stats or these statistics or even winning a national championship. It's to prove that mental performance, mental skills is a difference between good and great. Back to that dream. After we won the national championship, I was drafted in the 14th round by the Montreal Expos and played the game that I loved to the age of 30. And as soon as I stopped playing, I started coaching. I spent 13 years, 11 at the college level, coaching pitchers on how to be the best pitchers they possibly can. More importantly, to be the best men they possibly can. At the forefront of all of my teachings were mental skills and mental performance. I got my master's degree in sports psychology, and in 2013, I stopped coaching. And I started the Elite Performance Academy, the Mental Locker, and started training businesses, individuals, teams, athletic arena or the business arena, on how to live one's best life, whatever that means. Such a broad statement, but my vision and my goal is to give people permission to play a bigger game in life. And that's what I'm here to do today. And what I'd like to do when I give a presentation, whether I'm in front of 1,000 people or I'm in my office by myself talking to who knows how many people, is I like to set the intention of how we're going to play for the next 30 to 45 minutes. So I'm going to read you something. This book right here, it's called The Warrior Ethos by Stephen Pressfield, is one of the best books that I have ever read. It's spectacular. And what they talk a lot about, and I'm going to tell you this, then this is how I want you to play. I want you to have this mindset and this intention for the next however long that is for us, okay? The opposite of fear is love. The greatest counterpoise to fear that ancients believed is love. the love of the individual warrior for his brothers in arms. At Thermopylae, on the final morning, when the last surviving Spartans knew they were all going to die, they turned to one of their leaders, the warrior Diogenes, and asked him what thoughts they should hold in their minds in this final hour to keep their courage strong. Diogenes instructed his comrades to fight not in the name of lofty concepts as patriotism, honor, duty, or glory. Don't even fight, he said, to protect your family or your home. Fight for this alone, the man who stands at your shoulder. He is everything, and everything is contained within him. The soldier's prayer today on the eve of battle remains not, Lord, spare me, but Lord, let me not prove unworthy of my brothers. Civilians wonder at the passion displayed by wounded soldiers to get back to their units, to return to the fight. But soldiers understand. It is no marvel to them that men who have lost arms and legs still consider themselves fit for battle. So powerful is the urge and the passion to return to their brothers and not let them down. All warrior cultures train their youths to feel this love. They make the young men on the passage to warriorhood dress alike, eat and sleep alike, speak alike, wear their hair alike, suffer alike, and achieve victory alike. Ordeals of initiation are undergone not as individuals, but as teams, as units. Courage is inseparable from love and leads to what may arguably be the noblest of all warrior virtues, selflessness. And I want you to take that context and apply it to this conversation that we're going to have. Fighting for the man or woman to your left or to your right, and taking this into your team or to your family or into your corporation, wherever you are, and fight for the man and or woman to your left and to your right. Because we are coaches. But a lot of times that's just one area, that's one arena where we want to thrive and where we want to be the best. So what I think is important is 3 things have come up consistently in my training in this pursuit of something bigger than one in any individual, whether it's winning a championship, whether it's being the best father, whether it's being the best husband that can be. And that's what I want to talk to you about. And the first that we're going to talk about is the plan. Okay. If you have pen and paper with you, I want you to write this down, because this stuff, when you apply it to yourself, is going to make you better. It's going to give you a little bit more direction. It's going to give you clarity on where you're going. And in return, you could do this same drill to your team, however many that is, so they all know where they're going. When you have direction and when you have clarity, then you have a better chance for success. Success is not guaranteed. You're going to fail, and there's going to be a lot of pain involved to trying to be the best at something. But that direction is really, really important. So the first one is a plan. Okay, you got to have a plan. So write this down. And within that plan, there are 3 questions that I really like to ask when creating a plan. The first question is, where are you right now? So write that down. Where are you right now? And this is the foundation. You got to know where you are currently so you can create the actionable steps, the work that is necessary to get to where you want to go. And we'll get there in a second. So when you're answering these questions, where are you now? You need to ask yourself the tough questions. You know, what are your weaknesses? Where are you falling a little bit short? Where are the holes in your arsenal to get to the top? And you got to go at least 3 to 5 layers deep. A lot of people say up to 7 layers deep. And here's what I mean by this. So, you know, let's say we want to win a championship. Okay, well, why do you want to win a championship? Because it makes me feel good. Okay, well, why does that make you feel good? Because we accomplished something and it's just a really cool to be a part of that. Okay, well, why is that important? Because it makes me feel significant. Well, why is feeling significant important? Because it makes me feel valued. Well, why does being valued, why is that significant? So you get down to the core level of really why you are or what you want to do. Okay, so where are you right now? Strengths, weaknesses, and really come up with a detail. The more details, the better. Okay. Second question is, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? And I want you to remove the lids from the expectations on this one. All right. I want you to think big. Winning a championship, everyone wants to win a championship. Okay. Bigger. Okay, I want to win 10 championships in a row. I want to create a legacy. I want to create a dynasty. I want to be the head coach at your alma mater. I want to, just big, huge dreams. Think big. If it makes you uncomfortable, you're on the right track. Okay. And then the third question, which for me is the most important question, is how are you going to get there? The work. I hate to tell you this, but there's work involved to being great. There's work involved to the top. I love Bobby Knight's quote that says, everyone wants success, but most aren't willing to do the work that it takes to be successful. Okay, so that first one is that plan. Those three questions. Where are you right now? Where do you want to go? And then how are you going to get there? And then what we're going to do, especially with the second question, is where do I want to go? I want you to think big, like we talked about. And then we're going to reverse engineer it. What are the daily, weekly, monthly, sometimes yearly actionable steps that it's going to take to get to where you want to go? Okay? That's the work. And here's what you also have to understand about this plan. This plan is a foundation. This plan is your wildest dreams in your arena, whatever arena you choose. And you have to know this, that plan will probably change. No plan survives the first punch. You're going to have to adjust. You're going to have to audible from time to time. But what's great about the plan is when you get off track, because you're going to get off track, there's going to be all these distractions, all this resistance that's going to get in your way of where you want to go. But the plan gets you on track a little bit quicker. It allows you to get refocused and re-energized to the common denominator, the common goal, the checkpoint. During this time, I also want you to eliminate an arrival point, eliminate a finish line, and I want you to look at these things as checkpoints. So when you achieve a goal, whether it's a weekly goal, a daily goal, a monthly goal, it's not a destination. It's a checkpoint. It's a quick evaluation. Okay, how did things go? How am I doing? It's an adjustment if necessary. Okay, I wasn't really great in this area. I'm going to shift over here and I'm going to adjust, and then it's back to work. And you just keep doing that over and over and over again. You repeat that in your life, and you don't stop until you take your last breath. And that's living a good life. Okay, so that's the first thing, is the plan. The plan is extremely important. The second one is going to be your relationship with practice. Okay? This isn't working. Let's try this. Yeah, there we go. Technical difficulties. We gotta love it. And you know what? That's what's great about this. And here's what I want you to understand about when you're doing things, is to not expect perfection. I want you to strive for perfection, but knowing that things are gonna get messed up, and there's no reason to stop, reset, and do it over again. You adjust, you figure it out, you move on. Okay, I think that's really important, because these things happen in every aspect of our lives. And our life isn't a video game where you can press reset and start all over to get the results that you want. You gotta adjust. Okay. Number 2, your relationship with practice. That playing is a big one. Second one, number 2, your relationship with practice. And I love this, the distance between winning and losing. Sometimes it's this much. Sometimes it's a half an inch, especially in the game of baseball. Sometimes it's this much between a home run. See that little bit? Between a home run and a ground ball, 6-4-3 double play, we win. Okay? Your relationship with practice must be better than anyone that you'll ever compete against. It's a big one. Okay, so you think about the game of baseball. We take batting practice, we field ground balls, we take fly balls, we throw, we prepare. That's what everyone else does. How are you different? How are you going to approach that differently? It's not that you don't do it, but you got to approach it differently. So how are you going to approach that differently? Okay. So your relationship with practice, the smallest of detail, you got to close the gap between what you do in practice and then what you do in a game. That's the toughest thing for players and coaches is we tend to practice one way and then we expect ourselves to perform differently game time. Whether it's, throwing is a perfect example of this. We save our arms. So, hey, coach, I'm only going to go to 60 feet today because I want to save myself for the game. What are you training your body? Because you're practicing a heck of a lot more than you're playing. You should be, at least. So you're training your body to be one way, that's practice, and then you're expecting it to do something else. For me, the word choking, we could all define it. We all have a bunch of different definitions of what choking is, but for me, it's a lack of preparation. So no matter what level you're at, whether you're at high school, I think a lot of the people out in this are going to be in high school or college or even a professional. I want you to fall in love with the process. Okay, fall in love with the pursuit of practice, the relationship, the intimacy of practice. Practice isn't supposed to be fun. Practice is supposed to prepare you for game time. When I was at Cal State Fullerton in 1995, Augie Garita would put us through the most grueling practices you could ever imagine. If we didn't do something right, we were on the line running sprints. But how many times did we do that one thing wrong? Not very many. Okay, not very many times. Because it's that is the biggest difference. It's finishing everything. It's the smallest detail. It's executing the smallest thing, a bunt defense. You think about a baseball game, and you think about how a lot of games are won and lost by a moment or two, whether it's an error, whether it's not executing a bunt defense, whether it's just not being prepared for a potential moment because we didn't treat practice with intensity or with purpose. And especially if you're in high school, there's a lot of people that are, and even the coaches, you have other jobs. You're rushing to practice. The kids are rushing out of class. There's not a lot of time for preparation. And you find yourselves winging it. You're not going to have the success that you want if you're winging it. I was winging it for probably 22 years trying to become a professional athlete. I had no idea what I was doing. I had never been around a professional athlete, yet alone a professional baseball player. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know the work that it took. I was just relentless. I was unwilling to give up on my dream. And I said, I'm not stopping until I get there. But I was winging it. And what I love about what I do now is I don't want to get rid of the pain for you. Maybe lessen it a little bit. Speed up the time. It took me over 10 years to finally fulfill that dream of becoming a professional athlete. And that's okay. That was my path. That was my journey. But if we could give you some specific steps like we are today, and what all these people are doing in this series. And if you could take a little bit and add it to your arsenal as a coach and or as a player, if you're watching it, and you could speed up that process a little bit, but don't ever think the work's going to stop, because you're going to be disappointed if you think the work's going to stop. The only thing that you're entitled to is your labor. You're not even entitled to the fruits of your labor. You're entitled to your labor, okay? And I want you to understand that's important. Your work is everything. So your relationship with practice is got to be very intimate. It's got to be very detailed. You've got to create this resolute thought process of, I'm going to perfect this to the best of my ability, one day at a time. Because I could go and take 15 hacks and take 4 rounds, and that's BP. Or I could go in there and take 10 hacks, 3 rounds, with an intensity and a certain mindset, with a consequence, not punishment. Because here's the thing. I am as guilty as this as anyone. As a coach for 13 years, all 13 of those years, here's how I motivated. And I'm sure this is going to sound familiar to you coaches and or you parents. Hey, if you do this, I'll reward you with that. Okay? Like a positive reinforcement. Or if you don't do this, this is going to happen to you, a consequence. That's not motivation. That's controlling. The definition of motivation is when you create an environment where the individual motivates himself. And when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, I messed that up big time. So now with that thought process, I'm changing that. Okay, it's not about me saying, if you do this, I'll give you that. Or if you don't do this, you're going to get this. I want to create an environment, and we're going to get to that too, because that's an important one. But I think consequences are important, because everything you do in an athletic arena, everything you do just in your everyday lives, there are consequences, good and bad. So when we're closing that gap in practice between good and bad, between the game and practice, you got to have consequences. We would throw bullpens in the last 15 pitches at the 3-2 count, bases loaded. For every run you give up, that's a gasser. 90 feet, 90 feet, 90 feet, 90 feet. It's not punishment. You're training, you're informing your body of what is necessary to compete at the highest level. And that's how I want you to approach your practices, is informing your body or your athletes' bodies so they know what is expected of them in the most pressure situations. How can you do that in practice? Put a clock on them and really come up with some, and it doesn't have to be for the whole entire 2 hours of practice. It can be for 20 minutes, but at some point find an area in practice where you could close that gap and make it very competitive with high consequences. Because now you're just training your body to become that, okay? So that relationship with practice is so important. And here's what I want to read a couple of things in this book, which I love. This is called The Little Book of Talent by Daniel Coyle. And it's about all these tips on how these hotbeds. So all over the world, there's these hotbeds that create amazing athletes. And here's, it's pretty mind-boggling when you look at this book and you see the things that take place. And I love this example. I'm going to try to find it though. I love this example of, where are you? Bear with me. We are often taught that talent begins with genetic gifts, that the talented are able to effortlessly perform feats the rest of us can only dream about. This is false. Talent begins with brief, powerful encounters that spark motivation by linking your identity to a high performing person or group. This is called ignition, and it consists of a tiny world-shifting thought lighting up your unconscious mind. I could be them. And this example is so cool. They talk about in 1997, okay, that's not that long ago, there were no South Korean golfers on the LPGA, the Ladies Professional Golf Association. Today, there are more than 40, winning 1/3 of all events. So what happened? Se-ri Pak won 2 major tournaments in 1998. And through her, hundreds of South Korean girls were ignited by a new vision of their future selves. You say to yourself, if she can do it, I can do it. I love that. I want you to start creating a relationship with future self. How does he work? How does he present himself? What's his body language? How does he handle failure? What's his relationship with practice? And then you work every day to become congruent with that individual when you meet him face to face, or her, okay? I want to read this one too, and then we'll move on. This is relationship with practice, okay? Tip number 17, embrace struggle. At all the talent hotbeds from Moscow to Dallas to Brazil to New York, I saw the same facial expression. Eyes narrowed, jaw tight, nostrils flared. The face of someone intently reaching for something, falling short, and reaching again. This is not a coincidence. Deep practice has a telltale emotional flavor, a feeling that can be summed up into one word: struggle. Most of us instinctively avoid struggle because it's uncomfortable. It feels like failure. However, when it comes to developing your talent, struggle isn't an option. It's a biological necessity. This might sound strange, but it's the way evolution has built us. The struggle and frustration you feel at the edges of your abilities, that uncomfortable burn of almost, is called desirable difficulty. Your brain works just like your muscles. No pain, no gain. So the work's never going to go away. Failure is never going to go away. Pressure is never going to go away. Anxiety is never going to go away. But what I want you to do is I want you to redefine what those words mean. And how can you use them to get to where you want to go? Because if you're feeling this angst or you have this fear of failure, that means you're about to do something pretty cool. So if I can look at it as, ooh, this is a good test for me, whether in practice or whether in a game. If you could do it in practice where you could push those boundaries and have permission to fall flat on your face and be okay with that, you're going to far surpass and you're going to shatter your own expectations of what you think you are capable of becoming. So that relationship with practice is so important. And here's what I want you to think about your relationship with practice. I love this missing decision line. So a good friend of mine, Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann, served 28 years as a Green Beret, deployed several times, watched over 20 of his men killed in action, witnessed it. But he talks about as a Green Beret, you go in there and you kind of become part of the community. You infiltrate. Navy SEALs kind of come in quietly, do their work, get out. You never know never know they were there. Green Berets actually become. They dress like them. They get to know the leaders, and they get their trust. And in return, they ask them to fight shoulder to shoulder. So what they call the mission decision line. So they're going to go in and they're going to infiltrate this area. They brief, and every detail for them is life and death. And they have what's called a mission decision line. And it's a point throughout that process that when you cross that line, there's no turning back. And the only thing that matters is the mission. And in their world, on the other side of that mission decision line is chaos. Sometimes bullets flying at you. And they know that sometimes people aren't going to make it out alive. But the only thing that matters is accomplishing the mission. So what's cool is I've started talking to people about this all over the country. And I'm starting to see these cool pictures show up where teams are creating their own mission decision line. So when they cross that boundary, there's only one thing that matters, and that is the mission, the plan, the vision of what is going to happen on that baseball field. Once you pass that stair that says MDL, the only thing that matters is being the best baseball player you possibly can. The only thing that matters is striving for excellence, or whatever you want to paint, whatever picture you choose to paint, which is kind of cool. So I'm asking you, where can you choose your mission decision line? Where is a point in your arena, whatever that is, where you could create this mission decision line and everyone knows where it's at? And you paint just like this. You paint MDL, and people don't even know what does MDL mean? It's kind of yours. It's your own. It's your ownership. It's identity, and that's how you separate the good from the great. And that's how the mental locker was created in my business. When I was a coach at the Air Force Academy, these cadets, these student athletes, these amazing men had a lot on their plate, one of the toughest academic institutions in the country. And they have their military training, and then they have the baseball, and they would come down to the field completely overwhelmed and sometimes mentally, physically, emotionally exhausted. So we created a mental locker where as they're coming down the hill, they're transitioning from cadet to baseball player. And as they're taking off their UOD, uniform of the day, they're taking off all those stresses, all those problems, all those perceived issues, and they're leaving them in their locker. And when they put on their baseball uniform, all they are is the best baseball player they could be for the next 2 hours, however long practice is. And it really allows them to separate. And then when you're done, you put that stuff back on, and all those problems or perceived problems and all those issues are still there. They're not going away. What you need to understand is when you're in your arena, it's sacred space. It's precious. It's not a time for drama. It's not a time for me, I. It's a time for locking arms, fighting for the man to your left and to your right for one common goal. Okay? So where is your mission decision line? All right? Now, what I want to talk about too is the third thing, and that is surrounding yourself with people better than you. And this is the big one. This has come up more for me in the last several months than it has, since I started doing this mental performance with businesses and individuals and teams, is culture and environment. And Mitch Canham taught me this, or showed me this, and I'm going to show it to you. And I think it's amazing. And it's very simple. Okay. So you're going to draw a circle right here. I'm getting some serious sun in here. I love it. And you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're going to draw 5 other circles. You're going to draw 5 other circles. And then your name is in the middle. And then the 5 closest people that you hang around with or that you associate yourself with are in these 5 circles. And now what you ask yourself is, first of all, what am I playing at? Am I a 6, 7, 8, a 8, 9, 10, or am I a 3, 4, 5? And those 5 people in those other circles, where are they playing at? Are they a 4, 5? Or are they a 7, 8, 9? Because if you're playing at a 4 or 5 and the 5 people that are surrounding you are at 8 or a 9, you're not going to be around for long. And if you're playing at an 8 or 9, but the other people, or 1 or 2 of those other people are playing at a 3 or 4, they got to go. Because you are who you surround yourself with. And this is so important about creating that true definition of motivation is creating an environment, a culture where the expectations are known. It doesn't matter who walks through that door. You look at these dynasties, whether it's the Yankees or the New England Patriots, it doesn't matter who walks through the doors because there's an expectation. They know exactly who they have to be. And if they don't meet that expectation or that standard, they're out. It's very, very simple. So what kind of environment are you creating? And if you're the leader of the team, if you're the coach, if you're the head coach, or you're the parent of the household, or you're the CEO of a corporation, your responsibility is creating that environment. Creating that environment where the people that you surround yourself with are self-motivated to be excellent, that know the expectations, that know the standards that they need to meet on a daily basis, or they're out. What does that look like for you? Where are the adjustments that you need to make? And that could be in the plan. Is creating that standard. And it's not, you can't say, well, I'll wait till next year because, we're already a couple months into it. No. Get them together and say, gentlemen, from this day forward, here's where we're at. And there's going to be a little bit of adjustment period. But you create that foundation, you create that, and you find the same people that want to achieve. You find 8s, 9s, and 10s, and there might be a 5 or a 6. Well, they got potential. So what can you do to bring them along? What I love about, I'm going to read again. This book, Relentless. Tim Grover. It's amazing, 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 amazing. It says, greatness makes you a legend. Being the best makes you an icon. If you want to be great, deliver the unexpected. If you want to be the best, deliver a miracle. And there's these golden nuggets throughout this whole entire book. And I love it. But the one that I love the most is, where are you? There it is. Physical dominance can make you great. Mental dominance is ultimately what makes you unstoppable. And so many people think that mental performance is completely separate than the physical. And I don't have time for mental performance because we got to hit, we got to take ground balls, and we got to get stronger in the weight room. We got to do all this stuff. And I get that. I apologize for this light. My goodness, I love the sun. If you're not incorporating mental performance, if you're not incorporating a good environment, your relationship with practice, some breathing techniques, some simple things that just allow these men to be grounded, or your athletes to be grounded, to be where their feet are, to be present, you're going to fall short. Physical ability is only going to take you so far. So really take a look at your environment that you've created, the surroundings that you've created. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Are they the right people, or are they just people? And that changes everything. And it really gives your players a very clear indication of where you're going. First of all, you got to let them know where you're going. But when you start surrounding yourself with amazing people, and they see that direction, and they see that you eliminate people. So here's the thing that we often misunderstand. They think to be great at something, or to be the best at something, we got to add a bunch of stuff. But in fact, it's about eliminating. Simple, better. Ken Ravizza, my hero, my mentor, best sports psychologist in the world. I took his class at Fullerton, changed my life. He worked for the Cubs last year, and they had one philosophy: simple, better. What is the simplest form of what you do, and how can you be better at that? So what's the simplest form of pitching? Be better at that. Simplest form of hitting? Be better at that. Simplest form of fielding? Be better at that. Be better than anyone you will ever compete against. Does that make sense? I'm going to wrap this thing up really quick. 3 things. The first one is you got to have a plan. Okay, what are those 3 questions? Where are you now? Where do you want to go? And how are you going to get there? Okay, so what is your plan? The more detailed, the better. Knowing that you're going to adjust. Knowing that as you get better, and as you evolve, and as your program evolves, and as the culture evolves, that's going to have to shift. But you got direction, and that direction gives you clarity. That clarity gives you confidence, and that confidence gives you the best chance for success. Number 2, it's your relationship with practice. It's got to be better than anyone you compete against. Redefine what relationship with practice is. Redefine your approach to the daily practice. If you got a full-time job and you know that you're going to be short on time, create a practice plan the night before. Don't wing it, because if you're going to wing it, your kids are going to wing it, and you're going to fall short, and then you're going to get upset at them that they haven't met your expectations. Maybe you haven't clearly defined those expectations, and maybe you're not meeting your own expectations. Sometimes you got to go a little bit internal and say, okay, who am I? What am I doing? Who am I? Am I leading properly? Am I living into my own words? Okay, and then the third one, I really want you, this is a big one, because when you have a good culture, and when you've created a really good environment, you have a chance when things go bad. But if you don't have a good environment, and you haven't created a good culture, as soon as things go bad, people are jumping ship. They're pointing fingers. They're blaming you. They want you out. They don't trust you. That's a big one. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to email me if you have any questions. Tim Dixon 35 at gmail.com. Okay, it's right there on the bottom of these slides. My website, thementallocker.com. And if you just give me an email address, you get a free relaxation visualization audio, a free downloadable PDF that is kind of a starter's kit to mental performance. I got all kinds of stuff. I'm on Twitter at The Mental Locker, Instagram at The Mental Locker. We do a lot of cool stuff, and we have a really cool community that are just striving for bigger, striving for better. And then I do a podcast too. It's called The Pursuit of Perfection podcast. Again, perfection does not exist. However, the pursuit of perfection is necessary to be the best. Okay, that website is the pop, P-O-P, pod, P-O-D.com, thepoppod.com. So you can find there's a lot. We have all kinds of amazing conversations about just being great. Okay. And I'm going to leave you with what I leave every presentation that I've almost ever given in my entire life with. My daughter, Haley, she's 14. She's a dancer. And Martha Graham, who is the best choreographer of all time, wrote this letter to one of her students, and I leave this with you. There is a vitality, a life force, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there is only one of you in all time, this expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium and be lost. The world will not have it. It is not your business to determine how good it is, nor how valuable it is, nor how it compares with other expressions. It is your business to keep it yours clearly and directly, to keep the channel open. You do not even have to believe in yourself or your work. You have to keep open and aware directly to the urges that motivate you. Keep the channel open. No artist is pleased. There is no satisfaction whatever at any time. There is only a queer, divine dissatisfaction, a blessed unrest that keeps us marching and makes us more alive than the others. How are you going to show up for yourself and for the people that surround you? That's 100% choice. Make your plan, your blueprint, schedule your championship, redefine your relationship with practice, and make sure you're surrounding yourself with amazing people. I thank you very much for your time. I wish you the best of luck, and reach out to me if you need anything. Okay? Have a good one.